Director for Donor Engagement and Development Coordinator for the Military and Veteran Services here at University of Mount St. Vincent. Thank you, Tiana.
My pleasure. Happy to host you.
And just as a reminder, next meeting is going to be next month in Brooklyn, October 30th. That's going to be based off of employment. And yes, introduction. So we'll hand it over to the chair. She wants to introduce herself.
Thanks. Thanks for joining, everybody. And again, sorry for the delay. Mercedes Elias, Marine Corps veteran, and I represent Queens.
Hello, everyone. Manhattan representative, Navy corpsman, current student, and staff member for Hope for the Warriors, national nonprofit.
Anybody on Zoom? I see Wendy. Paul, you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hello, Paul Dietrich, retired Army representative from Staten Island.
Greetings, everyone. This is Wendy McClinton, United States Army veteran, service connected. Love New York. Let's make it happen.
I don't see any other board members. Ryan Graham, Air Force veteran, and I represent Queens. Any other board members? I guess not. So we're going to lead off. We're just going to turn this over to Commissioner Hendon to give some updates, and it's going to speak on a few things. This is education. Commissioner Hendon.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you to Mercedes, Ryan, all of the members of the board, for everyone who's here with us tonight. Just happy to be with you for this Veterans Advisory Board, meeting. I'll say a little bit, and then I'll pass it over to Jason Loughlin, our lead person for intergovernmental affairs, to make some announcements, and also pass it over to Ellen Greeley, and so we have Nicole Orlando also from our partnerships team to really drill down on the theme for tonight, which is education. So for me, just some general announcements first. Things that are coming up between now and the next VAB meeting. Just to let folks know that our Boss Up competition for our small businesses, the deadline to apply is September 15th. And so for all who are small business owners or veterans who, would seek to, have an opportunity to win up to $20,000 in support, courtesy of the Ron and Kelly Moelis Foundation. This is a great program we're doing in partnership with the Small Business Services Department and with the Moelis family. And it's called Boss Up. It's nycbossup.org. I'll put links in the chat after speaking, but it's nycbossup.org, and the deadline to apply is September 15th. Another program that's coming up is next Friday on September 20th. We're going to have our Greater New York City Veteran and Military Family Summit. That's going to be at Yankee Stadium, and it's going to run from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. And there'll be many things happening at that summit. We're doing it in partnership with the VA, in partnership with Blue Star Families. And within the VA, it's working with the Center for Women Veterans as well. So there's a conference component of it where anything that involves just veterans services and different needs will be discussed. Another portion of it will involve our veteran and military families with our friends at Blue Star Families. Another area will drill down very much so on women veterans and their issues, what we do with the Center for Women Veterans. Yet another piece, we'll be holding a VAC also with our VA friends, where it's a Veterans Experience Action Center. It's an opportunity where our friends from the Veteran Benefits Administration, Veteran Health Administration, and National Cemetery Administration make themselves available to help our veteran community members move the needle on issues that they have. So we encourage you to come. Once again, next Friday, September 20th at Yankee Stadium. It'll be from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. And that's nyc.gov/vet summit. nyc.gov/vet summit. Another thing too, as far as this month, no later than the end of the month, we will announce our finalists for the erection of a memorial to our service members who made the ultimate sacrifice in the wars post 9/11. So our global war on terror memorial, recognizing those Iraq, Afghanistan war veterans and others from New York City who made the ultimate sacrifice. We've had an advisory committee that's gotten together and looked at our initial slate of teams that submitted ideas and has narrowed that down from the initial group to what will be 4 finalists who we will announce later this month. The ultimate finalists and the winning design will be announced in November. And so we're gonna narrow things down to this last iteration. But you can see more details about that at nyc.gov/vetmemorial, nyc.gov/vetmemorial. And that'll be announced by the end of the month. And yet another thing that's near term, the Joseph P. Dwyer program and the opportunity to apply for funding for it. That deadline is September 30th, and that's nyc.gov/vetDwyer. It's nyc.gov/vetDwyer to learn more. We really want to empower as many of our organizations as possible who desire to do help-seeking behaviors, help-seeking activities for our veteran community to apply. And once again, more information at VetDwyer. And so to recap, as far as near-term things for folks to know, the small business competition for our veterans, to boss up. That deadline is September 15th. It is nycbossup.org. The Veteran and Military Family Summit, the Greater New York City Veteran and Military Family Summit is going to be next Friday, September 20th, and that's 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. That's nyc.gov/vet summit. As far as our finalists, we will be announcing our final 4 teams or artistic teams that are coming together for our memorial to our post 9/11 war veterans from New York City, and that'll be announced this month. More to follow there, but you can learn about that at nyc.gov/vetmemorial. And then the Joseph P. Dwyer program, as far as we encourage all of our organizations to apply for funding, visit nyc.gov/vetDwyer. As long as you're doing something that normalizes help-seeking behavior amongst our veteran community, we encourage you to apply. And so with that, I'm going to pass it over to Jason Lockwood from our team for intergovernmental affairs. And then I may say one more thing before I turn it over to Ellen Greeley and Nicole Orlando to speak education.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Hi, everyone. I'm not really sure where to look because these things are like catching me everywhere. But happy to be here, and I'm so happy that all of you joined. We've got some pretty good news just today during New York City Council stated meeting. They did vote and approve on the I guess redirectioning of funds to support our Veteran Resource Center initiatives. And what that resulted in is a allocation of $206,000 to continue the Mission Vet Check program towards New York Cares, and $334,000 to pay for an initiative that would send veteran benefits officers to every city council district office at least once a month through a partnership with the Veterans of Foreign War, VFW. We're really excited about that. You may see circulating in your network a job description from the VFW. They are seeking to fill positions to execute this program. So please, if you see that job description, or if you'd like for me to send it to you, be more than happy so that you can circulate it with your network for anyone who may be interested. Again, this is a big win for City Council, certainly a big win for us. So please reach out to your local City Council members and express your gratitude for them to make this financial commitment to our community. Second, we have a hearing coming up September 18th on veteran civic engagement. We certainly invite everyone here to come and testify, whatever your thoughts are on civic engagement, if you're doing anything in your own community, or if you'd like to see the City of New York and City Council do anything to make it easier for veterans to be involved civically, we certainly would love to hear your voice. Lastly, to do so, you have to go to the New York City Council website to register for the hearing so that you can testify. We'll put the link in the chat here so that you can more easily access it and sign up if you'd like. And again, on the line of City Council, this February, discretionary funds will go back into effect for folks to apply for. So I highly encourage everyone who is interested in either their own nonprofit or a nonprofit that they feel very strongly about to recommend for them to visit newyorkcity.gov/vet council funding. There we have a plethora of resources and links for folks to better understand the discretionary funding process and for which ways that you can direct funds to do so. And lastly, before I turn it over to the commissioner, just to rewind a second, if you are a nonprofit or if you're seeking to start a nonprofit, I also recommend you visiting newyorkcity.gov/vet business. We have great resources there. The Veterans Business Leadership Association can help you guys out with any structural administrative things that you may need to get that nonprofit up and running. And lastly, I wanted to update Paul because we had briefly talked about the defibrillators in Staten Island. We had 6 VSOs come and fill out the paperwork to move forward with the defibrillator process. So we do expect to distribute 6 defibrillators that the Staten Island Borough President generously purchased for our veteran service organizations. And we expect to train approximately 18 people, 3 in each post, to be able to utilize that defibrillator. So we are very happy about that. And Paul and anyone else that is interested in hearing about the progress of that program with the Borough President, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about next steps. So that's from me. I'll turn it over to the commissioner.
Open data.
Oh, sorry. And one more announcement. Please visit newyorkcity.gov/vets public reporting, vets reporting. Yeah. There is a open data section at the very bottom of that page. We want to make sure that our constituents know that if you're seeking out any transparency in the data that we have as an agency and the programming that we offer, please go ahead and visit that website. And if you have any other further questions about our data, or if you're seeking to get different information, you can always FOIL the agency, and we will respond in a sufficient time with whatever data requests you have, if we do have the data that you are seeking. So now I'll turn it back to the commissioner.
Can I just ask a question really quick before we turn it over to the commission? Sorry about that.
No problem.
There is a question submitted by Joe Bello, and this is just for clarification. Is the city council splitting the $450,000 to Mission Vet Check and the Paul Vallone initiative? Can you just clarify that?
Yeah, so it's $540,000, and $334,000 is going to the Veterans of Foreign Wars Department of New York in support of the VRC initiative, as is $206,000 is going to New York Cares. It's listed, and we're just seeing, this occurred a few hours ago at the state hearing, it was just voted on before we came in. So they've listed this as all $540,000 is supporting what they're labeling the Veteran Resource Center Initiative. And so that's $540,000 to the Veteran Resource Center Initiative, with $334,000 set aside specifically for Veterans of Foreign Wars Department of New York, with $206,000 specifically set aside for New York Cares.
Okay, thank you. If we have any questions in the chat, I'll make sure to chime in and ask.
And I want to flag that we want to, during the next hearing, next VAB meeting, we want to be able to put more information on the table about this. We're taking this in real time also. And so this just happened to state it today. And so we hope that at the next, in October VAB meeting, we'll be able to give more color about it. But right now, no, it's 540 in total. It's called the Veteran Resource Center Initiative, with $334K going to VFW Department of New York and $206K going to New York Cares.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
What I was going to say too, the hearing announcement, I'm going to put this in the chat. The hearing announcement will be a part of our newsletter that's going out tomorrow. And so in the newsletter, the September 13th newsletter from DVS, you'll see that hearing announcement. I'll put this in the chat. And if anyone does not have access to our newsletter, you can always sign up at nyc.gov/vet newsletter. And if anyone, ever needs to see it, it'll be there. So we'll always put these hearing announcements within the DVS newsletter.
And just so folks are aware, we do not expect to have a hearing in the month of November. So this may be the last hearing for the new year. That might not be the case, but we are not expecting a hearing in the month of November. I'll turn it back to you, Commissioner, or do you want to pass it to Ellen?
I'll say a little bit and then go over to Ellen. But before that, Mercedes, Ryan, is there anything else that you all, as our chair and vice chair, would like to, us to address from what we've said thus far, before we dig deep into education?
There was one more question. If you're still looking to start the initiative in the spring.
I think our
It,
response is,
yeah, we're trying to figure out more from this. What I think they're gonna do is ramp this thing up. Like I said, we'll have more color in October, but I think that it's really about staff being onboarded to do this work. And I think that it's gonna be one series. We've heard about VFW circulating these job descriptions for folks who would like to come on and be veteran service officers to do this work. So I think it'll be one wave of hiring by the end of this year, and another wave of hiring sometime next year in the spring, most likely. But once again, we want to confirm and get all the details and come back to folks so people know everything we know about this. And we hope to have that during the next meeting.
yeah, I just want to add on that we are certainly going to work as hard as we can to move it as fast as we can. But you know, the people and the training, those are things that are out of our hands, but we will be working with VFW to get them done as soon as we possibly can.
And how many people are you looking to hire? Roughly?
We'll come back to you in October about that. In other words, it's not, we got to get into the weeds of what the council is and what they've tasked for the VFW Department of New York, what they've tasked commission for New York Cares. Once we're in the weeds on that, we'll be able to circle back, and we commit to just talking about this in full in depth in October. This literally got voted on today, this afternoon, before we came, so we're still taking all this in.
Yeah, and Joe, just to be transparent, on the job description that VFW is circulating, it does state that that they're looking to fill 3 people in this position. And so we certainly, like, we have a perspective of what the VFW would like to do, but as the commissioner said, we're still kind of learning as this is all developing. And so that might change. I just want to make clear that you see that. Yeah,
Absolutely. I appreciate that. I mean, you know, again, 3 people for 51 council members, that's, you know, I'll wait to hear more of the weeds when you guys figure it out.
yeah, thank you, Joe.
So I just started throwing some things in the chat about the hearing coming up. Once again, it'll be in the newsletter tomorrow. Before we turn it over to Ellen Greeley and Nicole Orlando to talk about education, just a few things I want to say about this topic for today. You know, it's one of our charter areas as far as assisting and informing our veterans on several different spheres, and one of which is education. The others are employment, healthcare, housing, benefits, and culture. And so when we look at education, just want to be sure that folks know that we focus on our veterans in their identity as students and what we can make sure that they are aware of through their identity as students. We also look at our veterans in their identity as parents of students. And so I'll put these links in the chat, and we try to make resources available on both of these sides of it, as far as you yourself as a student, and then you as the parent of a student. And that's nyc.gov/vet-students. It's nyc.gov/vet-parents. We try to account for these things. Something else I want to say about education before turning it over to Ellen and Nicole. What we do that touches education directly, as far as our claims team, is we help veterans who are not able to get assistance from their institution of higher learning or workforce development organization, help them obtain a certificate of eligibility to be able to access these education benefits. That is something that we help our veterans do directly. And I'll put that link in the chat too, where you can go and fill these forms out. It's a very binary process. Are you eligible for this benefit or not? Or do you have enough time left to keep using this benefit, or don't you? And so it's very binary compared to other claim situations, but we help veterans with that. Another thing we do is when we have a veteran who has a rating of 20% or greater as far as service-connected disability rating, we do direct them to what used to be called voc rehab or VRE, as far as the vocational readiness and education program. So they may use that program perhaps in lieu of the traditional benefits available. So we do tie them in with our friends at the Veteran Benefits Administration whenever we see those situations. And we make sure that veterans are aware of the Survivors and Dependents Educational Assistance Program. I'll put this in the chat also. So if someone is fully and completely or disabled, has 100% disability rate, this is the type of program that provides education benefits to their dependents. And so that's another thing that we do. So just big picture, and I'll give it to Ellen and she'll paint everything in. The student identity of our veterans, nyc.gov/vet-students. The parent identity of our veterans, parents of students, nyc.gov/vet-parents. Our claims team helps veterans obtain certificates of eligibility for those who need them to remit the benefits for education. When we encounter situations where someone may be eligible for voc rehab, we tie them in with the VA, with the VBA, to be able to take advantage. And we make sure that those who have a certain disability level know, or families of veterans who have certain conditions or have certain things have occurred, know that they may be eligible for the Survivors and Dependents Educational Assistance Program. And I'll put all that in the chat. And so with that, I'll turn it over to our Assistant Commissioner for Partnerships and Strategic Engagement, Ellen Green.
Great, thanks very much. And I want to introduce Nicole Orlando, who's our transition manager.
Hi, everyone.
Great, thanks, Nicole. And feel free to chime in, Nicole, whenever you can. Okay. New York City is incredibly attractive place to come to college universities here. We just, Nicole worked real hard on calculating some numbers, and we came away with 8,154 student veterans that are attending our private schools and our public colleges and universities at this moment in time. One of the advantages, of course, is that there's a high BAH reimbursement. Of course, the 4 boroughs have BAH near that $3,800 to $4,000. Staten Island, which ranks is a little bit less. But what's also very interesting is that a lot of students from New Jersey and from Westchester and Long Island will come and take advantage of the New York City schools because the BAH is based upon the location of the college and university. So it's a great opportunity for people to get their undergraduate and graduate degrees here in New York City. The downside of it, of course, and what we hear often from our student veterans is the cost of housing, and that sometimes is a distractor in terms of, and sometimes the frustration of renting apartments. So that's a reality situation with among our student veterans. There's also a strong consortium. Tiana here is part of some active consortiums of student veteran officers of different universities that are really hoping to really work and create a larger student community here in New York City. We started many years ago the Veterans on Campus Network, and that has now kind of evolved into a broader consortium of public and private schools. And there's actually one, a very specific consortium that exists here in the Bronx among various colleges. So the communities are beginning to work together. As you know, with COVID, it's been really hard to sometimes get the students back on campus, and having some of these universities working together, particularly when there's such a location to have special events, really helps to build the community. So we're really excited about supporting some of those activities. We're supporting some activities at CUNY, and as well as continuing to be part of the consortiums to see where we can support some of the other programs that might be going on in the other schools. I will say, as the commissioner has said, the alias, the NYC.gov student alias, will bring you to a very robust education landing page on our website, and I certainly hope that everybody checks it out. It really identifies the various veteran support VA programs that people could learn more about. We end up getting, we don't get a lot of requests for education requests. But when we do, there's actually 2 ways of getting it to us. One is through our Get page where people might very specifically ask for education support. But a lot of times people come to us through word of mouth or through our connection page. That does happen, and we do work very closely with our team of the Michael team that's to be able to, our benefits team that can help and identify the various benefits that the veterans might be eligible in. Also, Nicole is a wonderful resource for those types of resources too. And often we will also refer people to the Center for Transition and Integration at Columbia University. We don't have to be a Columbia university students to take advantage of it. It's a great resource, as well as student veterans on campus. Additionally, we work very closely with our Extra Events program, which helps to, that does a number of basically job prep programs at John Jay, at Bowen College, and also at Fordham University to prep students for the job market. And we've been quite successful there. In fact, they're Nicole, the next one is coming. We have two in October.
Yes.
Let's do it, right? Right.
Yes, there is one October 17th, which I believe is at Vaughan College, and then one on October 25th, which will be at Fordham University.
Yeah, for the most part. And so that helps in terms of, questions that veteran, of course, student veterans might come to us for other needs too, besides just questions about education. We're more than happy to help them with referrals, both for mental health issues as well as other types of related issues to their everyday lives in many cases. And then from a more upstream perspective, I mean, again, the commissioner talked a little bit about the Med Summit, of course, the Yankee Summit that we're holding. We had Branson from the Vital program will be there. Tiana Sloan will be featured as one of our speakers to talk about the educational community. And of course, we'll have more panels also. Extra Events will also be there to help people in terms of job prep and employment. Again, and then Commissioner, do you want to talk a little bit about the Veteran Promise programs that we're starting to?
Yeah, Veteran Promises, we branded this Student Veterans for Life. It is a program where we are working with our local recruiters so that when they speak with folks who are joining the military, that they can have a relationship with institutes of higher learning from day one, from them joining the service. So trying to be holistic with how we look at things. So as soon as you're on track to become a veteran, they're already communicating with an institution of higher learning. Currently, schools that we're working with within this are, of course, University of Mount St. Vincent, Manhattan College, and Fordham University, John Jay College, and NYU School for Professional Studies. Nicole, help me if I've missed any. We're expecting to expand that list. It's basically setting things up where once you join the military, from that onset, you can have a lot of communication with the leadership teams and the admissions folks and other staff members and students at those institutes of higher learning. The intent is that we set things up so that by the time you finish your service, you can transition easily into academic life. So yeah, it's Student Veterans for Life.
I mean, the educational field is highly competitive. A lot of veterans have already taken some credits while they've been in the military. They're hoping to transfer those credits. A lot of times the schools might accept them, but might accept them not necessarily for their core curriculum, but for their electives. There's frustrations that happen. I will say that veterans before they students service members before they are very often are being approached by universities and colleges to sign up online. Coursework is very, very competitive out there. Nicole and I attended a conference of college educators back then several years ago, and really the market is really very, very, very competitive in that particular way. So the fact that we do have 80, almost 8200 students, I think there's a lot to be said for that. It's given after the COVID experience. So I'll stop there and take questions. Nicole, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, if I could just jump in to just build a little bit on what Ellen said about our Veterans on Campus initiative. So the idea of this is that for all the schools in the 5 boroughs, and especially with bringing together the veteran population, is that the idea that New York is the entire campus, and making sure that if some event is going to CUNY or at a private school, we're making sure that all of our student veterans know about it and are invited and can connect with other student veterans. Also on the topic of just the Yankee Summit and having the education resources, we also will be having someone from NYC ETC there to speak about workforce development programs for those that maybe are looking for a career switch or a different training program. So we're really here to support the needs of a student whether they want to continue in that field that they're going in, or if they want to explore something new. So we're here to just support that.
I want to jump in really quick too. We want to just fill the gaps. In other words, we appreciate the great work that folks like Tiana, like yourself, or like Ricardo and like others do who are in this advising space. We just want to do everything we can to be water and account for any particular gaps in that. So we are so happy to be able to partner with all of our various academic institutions and those who are lead on this front as far as our advisors, our counselors are on the ground. So yeah.
And just one other comment is that we talked a little bit, want to talk a little bit about the military family advocate program. This is primarily for military service members and veterans, parents, and we've worked really hard with the Department of Education and been quite successful with starting a pilot program in Staten Island, where over 70 schools in Staten Island are participating in identifying a military advocate staff person in the public school system to be the kind of the voice and the eyes and ears of those students whose parents happen to be a service member or a veteran. And actually we're expanding it. We've had 2 presentations done in Brooklyn and in the Bronx, and we're looking forward to expanding it into those particular boroughs over the next couple of months. Our staff person, Bello, is leading in charge. It's going to be a wonderful reception. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, I want to just say something just so folks know one thing that we are thinking about. And Nicole, please chime in. An issue when we talk education, our veteran military fans, I want to make sure that the board, that the community knows about. Many of our active duty service members come here with children who have special needs. There are approximately 13,000 active duty Guard and reservists who are here in New York City. And many of our folks, especially when we look at our friends in the Coast Guard in particular, come to New York City to be able to take advantage of things they may not get in other parts of the country for their children. So we're very much trying to become more in tune with that and help all in our community who have children who have special needs navigate existing systems between what is found with the Department of Health for the younger children and with the Department of Education for older children. So that's something else I just want to flag, especially if anyone has a child with certain needs themselves and just seeks any sort of navigation support. That's something we're so happy to be able to do. It's you know, just want to say that.
Great, thank you.
So there's a comment by Kevin about an initiative for any incentives to attract student veterans to New York City for schools, because many are leaving because of the cost of living. And the impression is that we're not as veteran friendly as Texas and North Carolina, which is true. They get a lot of, tax breaks and benefits. Before, one of the advocates in the city was a huge proponent of the reduced fare Metro cards for veterans and students in general. So, is there any update on that? Because I think, talking to recruiters, to kids about being able to come back to college, I can tell you when I joined the military, I wasn't thinking about college at all. Like, that's the last thing in my mind. So I just want to be very honest to say it's a valiant, thought to have, but I don't think it's going to go that far. So what kind of what kind of incentives are we showcasing to veterans to show them that their schools here, there's a lot of benefit to going to school in New York?
I want to ask Nicole to speak a little bit about, what we're trying to have a better presence in the education centers per se. So I'm asking Nicole to speak a little on that, and then I'll add some things. So yeah.
Yeah. So with the help of one of our SkillBridge interns, we were actually able to get a listing of most of the education resource and employment centers throughout the country at different military bases. And we really started pushing out some of the information we would share to our veterans on campus people here in New York already, sending some things out to them as well. I think we can't talk about this without talking about employment. So we also tried to make sure that the employment opportunities are being shown also. Programs like the Edge for Vets one that we have going on, workforce development programs, to show that there's also programs here for your spouse as well, to show that it's a great place for a family, is what we've been trying to do and just get the word out there. I had a presence this past Monday on base at Fort Wadsworth, where I was able to talk to some newly transitioning service members and family members just about what opportunities are here, because most of them are not from here. So just to discuss, and a lot of them didn't even know about most of the resources out there to be able to get connected to education and the Yellow Ribbon program. So it's a lot of just making sure that resources that are great that we do have are we're putting out there, and that's what we're trying to do with the education centers.
I actually think that we would track the students. The question is how do you keep them here after their age ends? And again, a lot of the private schools are Yellow Ribbon schools, so you can get a top-notch degree from a well-known and regarded university here in New York City. It's a question of retaining them afterwards, and to some extent, it has to do with moving them into the employment sphere and making sure that they get a well-paid job.
And I guess I want to double down there too. I agree with everything you're saying. The hope for Student Veteran for Life, which is still, and it's still a relatively new effort for us, is that, you know, for those who are looking at joining the military, to those who do have an interest in college, that they latch on to a school that is in New York City. Right now, I know the recruiters have shifted their focus from high school age. Back when I was, just joining and I started, it was a focus on high school, and it's now focused on early 20s, folks who have some college, as far as just where things have shifted with the demographics of those who are being brought in. I think another one, just adding what Ellen said, so we're working this with the Student Veteran for Life. So we're working this by trying to be in the ed centers on posts. Housing is what usually gets us as far as to be able to keep someone. And we're so happy that laws have been changed recently where with the Mitchell Lama program, there's a way for veterans to have just easier access to Mitchell Lama House. And it's a very important thing that's gone through where I feel like folks, we need to do a better job of getting the word out. But in so many words, right now, the state and the city must publish how many veterans are using their veterans preference to access Mitchell Lama in every single development. What that means is we've had stories where there were veterans who wait years to get access to development. They didn't realize they had 5 to 10, 15 veterans in front of them. So now we're setting things up where if well, this unit, this development has so many vets, this development has 0 vets. Let me go to the place with 0 vets. And so that's something where even, we introduced William, who's with us in the Skillbridge program, who, just sharing with me that he and his spouse were able to use this to get their Mitchell Lama in about 6 months or so. And it's usually years it would take for veterans to get this access. And so we want to try to do this and other things on housing. Right now, the one that's the newest that we have to socialize is Mitchell Lama. So people can say, look, I'm going to school here. I have a pathway to stay. It's not getting the job. It's not the education. It's being able to live here. And we're doing everything we can to try to help on that.
I want to add there that William here, if you don't mind introducing yourself, William, he's a Skillbridge intern who came and worked with us. And he just this week found out that his application for affordable housing in Mitchell Lama was approved. You wanted to speak a little bit about your experience, Will, just really quick about transitioning here and that in Skillbridge?
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate the shout out. Nice to see everyone. I'm a Skillbridge intern, so what that means is that I'm still active duty and I'm just being paid by the DoD and allowed to get job skills and continue the last portion of my contract here with the city. And yeah, I'm really thankful for the opportunity so far, and it's been a great experience. And yeah, Jason, he connected me with the resources to apply for Mitchell Lama, and I did exactly what the commissioner, what he mentioned earlier. It's that with that resource of being able to see which buildings are have no have a shorter wait list and which will have a longer one, you're able to really get access to affordable housing much faster.
Yeah, congratulations again, Will.
I appreciate
Way to
it.
work hard on that.
And I want to be clear, I know that's just one story, it's anecdote, it's not data, but we're hoping that we have more and more stories like this. We got to get the word out. So that's something that's real as far as a concrete thing we can do to make it easier for people to stay here, which I think is the biggest.
So, but where can the students find this information? Because looking at the vet student site, it's not showing it. And I'm saying it personally because I run a rotational internship program and none of my veterans who are all in school know about that. So where do they even go to get information?
I'm gonna drop vet housing in the chat. It's NYC.gov/ vet housing. It's in the housing ladder, which is NYC.gov/ vet ladder is where we have all this information. and I'll put it in the
Yeah.
chat. Thank you for flagging.
Our website is chock full of information, please, Chuck.
Yeah, I get it, Ellen, there's a lot of information, but sometimes it's a plethora of information. And it's very hard to like navigate and go through a million things and try to find it, you know what I mean? So, you know, Kevin made a comment that it sounds pretty when it comes to it, but execution's a little bit different. So that's what we're just trying to get to, a little bit more of helping people execute than just saying like, you know, all this information stuff that there's 100 things up there. So it's like, you know, helping them find.
Yeah, and the other thing too is just like we didn't hear I just want to agree with you, because we didn't hear not only we haven't seen that, it's not in the newsletter that you put out every Friday. No, that VFW description wasn't listed anywhere either. So how's this information getting out?
Well, I've got to talk with the adjutant for the VFW because they want to hire internally. They socialize this internally, so we need to get their consent to put this in the newsletter. You know, they wanted to socialize this first to their members.
Well, wait a minute. How is it that you need consent when the money is coming from the city council through you guys?
I'm just gonna stand here because it's cool for a second.
I don't want to. We've got to be careful with, you know, this is an organization. How they run their operations is their private. We want to respect that. You know,
I'm sorry, can you just mute? Thank
I
you.
can't hear anything.
Yeah, no, I'm saying you know, how they run their operation, like I want to be able to respect that they have certain autonomy over these things. And so we just want to get consent before putting that in the newsletters.
Okay, but let's be clear, Commissioner, you have oversight over this money. The money's coming through the agency, is it not? So now you're saying something, you're kind of splitting hairs on the word.
Up until today, there was no official connection between this organization and this funding. And so what I'm saying is this just happened just before we came to the meeting. I just got to connect with them first before we put this.
Okay, but that's not what the Schedule C said in July 1st when the money was allocated, the 540,000 directly to DVS.
The money
that was in the Schedule C.
The money wasn't designated for this specific nonprofit until a few hours ago. And so I just want to, you know, we just got to, you know.
So then what you're saying is that it just happened a few hours ago, but you've been having conversations with VFW on the job description already prior to the vote today. Is that what you're saying?
We learned that a job description was being circulated within the community.
Did you have any input in the job description?
No.
So what conversations were you having leading up to the vote by the city council that was going to move the money?
I don't really, there wasn't any discussion. I didn't have any, things are circulating within the community. I didn't have any, you know, input on any of this. I've learned about it just as a member of the veteran community.
Okay, so what I'm at, just let me clarify with it then. So the Schedule C says with the money it was going to go. You had talked about it the last community engagement in August about the program was going to start in the spring, that you were looking to work with the VFW. You did say all this stuff. So I'm asking is at what point, excuse me, Commissioner, at what point, I'm asking you, at what point did you have a conversation or somebody of your staff with VFW that this job description was created? Because what you're saying is that in essence, VFW just, without, you know, hey, there's money, we're just going to create a job description for money that was supposedly going to come through DVS to do this going to all these city councilmen, these resource centers.
What's
so
the concern here?
I think that so we as an agency, was allotted to us at the end of the budget season. As far as coming into the new fiscal year, we knew money had been allotted. As far as the actual confirmation that money was going to go to this particular organization, that occurred today when we saw with the state.
And I agree with you.
During the meeting you're talking about, when I spoke on it, I said that we will learn who is receiving that money, and we will be notified either at the stated hearing, either today or the one that was going to occur on September 26th.
So then, how does VFW have a job description?
Joe, I mean, that's a VFW.
Yeah, we don't.
If they wanted to put out a job description, they can do that.
Yeah, we
That's, we're not
don't-
telling
Can
them.
I just, can I just add a question that was raised in the chat previously? Because this is, I also thought it when you were discussing it. How was the VFW selected to, you know, take part in this process, considering, you know, some of the chapters that have closed here in New York, to make sure that all of the councils are actually, you know, represented, especially because there are some very active VFWs in certain boroughs, but not in other boroughs. So can you just walk us through the process with how that nonprofit was selected?
Yeah, that happened today.
And that's, like I said, the council ran point with that, and I think that it's, I don't think that this was something that was about any one particular chapter. In other words, that's award to the Department of New York. And so that was something that was awarded to, you know, the higher entity, not to any particular post, you know, as far as, you know, what went to it.
No,
Yeah.
I know it's not about the post, but I'm just saying like VFW compared to the Legion, compared to anything else, like how was the VFW selected? What was the process for that?
I can't speak to like the council's process. I can say just from our dealing, separate from the council's process in general, the more responsive group to, as far as coordinating with us on certain things, has been the VFW Department of New York. It's not been the American Legion. It's not been the DAV when it comes to groups that we have, you know, reached out to and worked with. So, but I can't speak to the council's process. I can just say, just as a separate thing, as an observer, when it comes to dealing with our state level organizations or groups that have been more responsive to things in general, the VFW has been more responsive as far as the Department of New York. But that's separate from, you know, whatever went in the, you know, the council making a decision. Yeah.
I just want to turn it over to Paul, because I know, Paul, you had come off to say something earlier.
Yeah, stepping back to the information with regards to schools, Staten Island still has the federal issue with less BAH than the rest of the city, because we are still considered a part of Bayonne, New Jersey. So
Yeah.
a person going to school on Staten Island through the as a veteran gets about 20-some% less than the equivalent student going to any place else in New York City. So if we're really considering advising people, I can't imagine why you would want to go to school here and get less money. But that's just me. And this has been worked at the federal issue numerous times, and it's been rejected by the feds. But somewheres, if we're really trying to help the veterans, we need to steer them to where they get the most benefit. And it isn't here on Staten Island.
Well, I empathize with everything you're saying. What it keeps coming back to the feds as far as it being a federal issue with this one. And it's the last conversation we had, I think it was before the Staten Island VAB meetings came up. I don't know if it was this year, even last year. And we were talking with the DOD about this, trying to advocate. And it came back to, you know, it's got to be handled legislatively through those electives, A, and B, they see it as zero-sum game at DOD, in that you reduce the BAH for the other boroughs and then bring up the BAH for Staten Island. That's what they're, or the monthly housing allowance. That's the way they're looking at it, which is just zero-sum game. It's something where it's transcendent of policy. What we do on policy, it's a legislative thing where we need to have our federal elected officials advocate to not allow that to happen, to get Staten Island to a certain place and not be, we'll bring Staten Island up in exchange for bringing these other boroughs down. And so we went back and forth with DOD on this as best we could, but it came back to, it's a federal issue. And right now, the only way we see of fixing this is to reduce it for these other boroughs in order to bring Staten Island up. So, yeah.
Okay, but again, I'm not advocating to do any of that. All I'm saying is that we're advising through your website, come to New York City and be a student. Well, we ought to be telling them that, hey, you're going to get so much less if you come to one part of the city than the rest, because the idea is to help the veterans. I'm not worried about the DOD and that's been worked a number of times, and that's their answer.
Can I be heard? Can you guys hear
We
me?
can hear you. Yep, we can hear you.
Just somebody shake their head.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. I'll be there in about 7 minutes and I want to speak to the whole group. This is absolutely ridiculous. I had to go through this, that every city council person, people on every department of the city can't get this right. So a disabled veteran can attend this meeting. It's absolutely disgusting. I'll be there and I'll speak in person. How long is this meeting supposed to last?
They'll still be there when you get there, Mr.
All right, thank
Lacy.
you.
Okay, so I guess the question that's being raised in the chat, because we're saying the city council selected VFW. Commissioner, I hear you when you're saying that the VFW is more active when it comes to a lot of issues. So it perhaps seems as they kind of like defaulted to that. How is the communication between DVS and city council when it comes to these issues? Because if we're saying that like, oh, they did it, we didn't know, what kind of resolution is there to increase the communication between the two entities to get that feedback to them?
I think for us, I guess for us, it was reaching out to the various borough delegations to, ask for, resources to support, having more folks provide claims services to our veterans in their different offices. So that was as far as communication for us, it was just, and it was something that Paul had been advocating for. Paul Malone, who passed away from our office. He'd been advocating for a while as far as having some sort of specific funding from the council in support of veterans, something where it would flow through the council members and they would have some sort of resource to be right by the veterans. And so from Paul's initial idea of there being some resources to go to veterans, translated into us saying, look, to each of the borough delegations, we ask you to please invest in doing something along these lines, something where we could have, someone who can help in those district offices with claims. Our team is too small to cover all the council offices. And so we said, well, is there anything that can be done in this way? And so that was kind of our shot across the bow on the issue. We flagged that. We also were adamant about defibrillators. We very much would like to have defibrillators in our various veteran service officer or VSO posts. And so those are two issues that we really tried to just get across the finish line. And ultimately, this is the one that took as far as, hey, let's fund the service officer piece. And, here we are right now with this situation with the VFW Department of New York. We're really excited about this. It's a great thing. But, that's like, it took that form of us communicating it and then finding out, okay, this is what we're going to do.
Well, just as we're talking about issues for veterans, just so you know, this is a separate issue, and I'm not sure which department is in charge of it, but the new regulation about the new garbage cans that everybody needs to have by October, the new trash bins, it is only available right now online. There's no like local purchase available, which is an issue for some of the older veterans that don't go online and they don't really like have access to that. So I'm not sure if it's the Department of Sanitation that should be contacted to let them know about this or another city agency, because there has been some outreach on like the city site that announces that new requirement for the new trash bins, but there's been no response. So something just for the department to be aware of. That is an issue. And the veterans are only have 2 weeks to rectify the problem with the trash bins, but that's just a general issue that came up recently.
I appreciate that. We'll flag it with the Department of Sanitation, and also go to the Department for the Aging also, just to see if this is something that I'm assuming maybe hitting a lot of our veterans who may not, or a lot of our New Yorkers who don't have that technology access and may have mobility issues. So we'll talk to DIFTA and to DSNY. So yeah, thanks.
Here's us, people with disabilities.
Yeah, it's another, Mayor's Office of Disabilities. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so we'll bring that up and we'll report back on that next time. We meet. So yeah.
One thing about education, that I wanna ask, is there anything as far as, there's always talk about, obviously, this generation, post 9/11, going to school, going to college, but what about, tech schools? Example, we have a post in, VFW post in Flushing, Queens. Ray Ramos, the commander, out of there, he kind of, runs everything. Well, not him specifically, but they have tech schools for among other things like HVAC. Is there anything like as far as resources besides the college side What about tech schools? Because obviously we're seeing a lot more people going into.
Yes, no,
blue
yes,
collar
there-
jobs.
There are many tech schools that are listed that receive VA money, yeah. The site is chock full of tech schools, and unions themselves are sources for those types of training.
I'll put NYC.gov/ vet jobs, and we try to list a lot of these programs too, as far as that side of things. And then Ellen mentioned the New York City Employment and Training Coalition. We're a member of that body, and that's another group that can advise anyone who's looking at that side of things, as far as just workforce development opportunities. So we'll have to make those connections. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as you guys
If I
know,
can also, oh, I'm sorry, Jason. I just wanted to jump in and just say that we're also going to have the representative speaking at the Yankees event to speak more about those workforce development, the trade school type programs, and what's out there, because they also work directly with hiring managers of Verizon and other companies in the trades. So they're also a great partner of ours.
Can you just make sure when you're sending out the flyer for the summit that you clarify that it's both veterans and transitioning service members? I think there was confusion on the last one that it was only transitioning service members and not veterans. And just in general, especially for these large scale events like the summit and the event at the Met Stadium, if we can see some metrics on the number of attendees versus like the amount that was spent to put these events on, I think that'd be very helpful to see if it's something that, the return on investment is not to the level that we want it to be, what can to increase participation. And then if there's multiple that have a low ROI, need to have as many. I think those metrics would be interesting to review at the end of the year.
Right now, the Yankees are allowing us to use the space gratis, just like the Mets did. So, but definitely for situations like that, we'll definitely circle the wagons on situations where we can say, hey, here's how you can see these things. But yeah, no, thank you.
Commissioner, did you touch on the PFC Dwyer program update?
Yeah, so for the Dwyer program, this is the one where we're leveraging the state funding to, fund veteran organizations that are looking to normalize help-seeking behavior amongst our veterans. That deadline to apply is September 30th, so the end of the month. So yeah, so folks can go to nyc.gov/vetDwyer, and it's in the chat, but it's nyc.gov/vetDwyer, and we encourage all to apply. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
But there was supposed to be an extension to the application, correct? There was supposed to be.
That already happened. So it has been extended to the 30th of September.
Okay.
Do we have any questions regarding education? Questions? Concerns? There's some comments. I'm reading up here. My vision's not too good.
What are we doing to promote the HBR scholarship to veterans? That's the most amazing scholarship out. It provides $4,000 just for housing. And nobody knows about it. This could be getting homeless. This is enough income to be getting homeless veterans out of the shelters. Regardless of how slow you are on processing city steps and HUD VASH.
is that HBRP? You said?
HBRP?
Yes. How come nobody at the veteran shelter knows about this as an opportunity to get out of there and receive BAH?
So in terms of HVRP, we are.
I mean, you're not talking about SSV. I'm not supportive service for veteran families, but
I'm talking about
employment.
I'm talking about a scholarship that's called HV and HR. Oh my God, I've lost it.
That's okay.
HVRP is a scholarship. I think that's more of a workforce development program. That's not a scholarship. Yeah.
And when you get here, we'll also look it up together to make sure we're talking about the right one.
Look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dondi has a question.
Yeah, hi, thank you.
VRNE. That's what it is. Sorry. Go ahead.
So got it. So for VRNE, we let for our claims team, this is something they socialize. Maybe they have veterans who have the ratings as far as 20% or higher where they're eligible for it. It was something
10%.
I mentioned it earlier as far as So yeah, I mentioned earlier we have the website too, but this is something that we do make sure that we do get the word out on the RNA. So yes.
To who? I'm talking about getting it to the homeless veterans because it's a faster way to get approved and get money to get out of that place than to process city steps, HUD VASH, or supportive living. And it's more money for housing.
So our housing team already, this is something our housing team does with their clients as far as making sure they know about these programs, including the RNA. That's something I know Lamar Wheeler and the housing team does with DPS.
No, they don't. No, they don't. Let's go to the Borden Avenue residents, see how many people know about the VRNE scholarship. That's a complete lie.
They have to be approved for the VRNE program
They
to
need to
qualify
know that
for
it's
it.
available so they can get approved. They don't even know it's available.
But they have to go and get
They have to be
resources.
informed that it's
Right, but
available.
Mr. Lacy, they have to work with the staff at DVS to learn that.
DVS
So
does no. DVS needs to work with the shelter to tell the residents.
they do.
No,
Mr.
they
Wheeler
don't.
has actually briefed at the meetings. Here's the thing. Okay, I get your frustration. But do we want Mr. Wheeler to be at Borden Avenue weekly, monthly? Like,
How about just a
we need
flyer about an amazing scholarship with all the criteria, and you drop it off at Borden Avenue so people can start applying? Because you have a DS login. It takes about 15 minutes to get approved for a $4,000 scholarship and 100% tuition.
That's a
Like a
completely
pretty good
doable,
deal.
that is a completely reasonable and doable ask. That is absolutely something that DVS can do.
Thank you. That's awesome. How long will that take?
I mean, they should be able to get it very soon, Commissioner.
I'm gonna, Mr. Lacy, I want to talk to Lamar Wheeler from our housing team just about how to best execute, and we'll circle back. We'll talk about what we're already doing and what we can do to amplify, get the word out about that. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and we'd love to talk more about it when you get here too, to hear more about your thoughts and what else we can do to better reach the homeless veterans in Borden Avenue and other shelters too.
Yeah.
We appreciate this feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep you
Dondi,
to
sorry about that, Dondi.
No problem. Listen, I have two questions. I'm gonna make them real quick. The first one's for the commissioner, and also the second one is for the commissioner. So my first question is this. I have been a disabled general vendor since 2004, and I was attended last November 1st an event that DVS gave for street vendors. It was I thought it was long overdue to have an event like that, and I was glad that you gave that. And I was wondering, would that be an annual event? Will it be repeated again this November? And if so, how will we hear about it? How will it be announced? That's the first question.
Donnie, thank you so much for that. And I'll put vendor in the chat too. It's what came of that was putting links up so folks knew exactly who in the various agencies they can contact on issues as far as our veteran vendors. Right now, we don't have plans for another one of those events this year. So right now, it's not looking like something that'll be an annual event. We wanted to, I guess, wait and get feedback from, I guess, the street vendor community about just takeaways from it to kind of, into whether we want to do this again and what the cadence would be. But I know the key takeaway was folks didn't know who to reach out to in the various agencies, and we did our best to triage that. So right now, we have the veteran contacts from the Department of Health, from Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings, from Small Business Services, from Sanitation, from Parks, and from Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. So you know exactly who to go to for whatever your needs are. I'll put that in the chat, and we're happy to entertain it. We just thought, let's let this breathe and wait till we hear back from the community about next steps, because the key thing that was missing was people didn't know who to go to at that agency level with their needs. Yeah.
Commissioner, because the next meeting in Brooklyn is covering the area of employment, can we have those representatives for the street vendors there at that meeting on October 30th? I think it'd be very helpful if we send it to Dondi and other members of like the street vendor community to let them know, like, hey, if you're wanting to know the points of contact are, this is who is here, and have them available at the meeting. I think that'd be very helpful if we're not gonna have a separate one for them like you did last year.
Yeah, Jay and I will get on it. I think we can reach out. We can reach out. I can't speak for them. We can reach out. We can make that. Absolutely.
And Dondi, thank you so much for attending. It means a lot to us to hear your feedback and to see that community come together. Thank you.
Again, thank y'all for giving it. My second question is this. I looking forward to the hearing on the civic engagement. I myself have been involved with the New York City Civic Engagement Commission since 2019, and they started in 2018. I served on the advisory board, and this is one of the things that it's a resource. It's a resource. It's for all 5 boroughs. I'm going to drop the link in the chat right now. It's a resource that's citywide that can help fund projects for 1 year. A lot of veterans do not know about this resource, and I was trying to find avenues how to get this information out about the New York Civic Engagement and how it can benefit and really do a lot to help the veterans community. Like I said, I have been participating in it since 2019. We had just ran our 2nd cycle, and during that period, I was able to produce a deliverable which contributed to the James J. Peterson Food Pantry, and it was an amount of $3,405. So again, this is a real need. This is funds going to real needs for veterans towards the food insecurities. So I was wondering, is there something that DVS can do to maybe help facilitate getting more of this information out in the veterans community? And thank you for your time.
Gandhi, 2 things. One is I think that please be sure to add this kind of information to ourveterans.nyc. It's like the community calendar for our veteran community. So it's ourveterans.nyc. I'll put that link in the chat. I think that's one way to kind of be able to crack this. Another one is we'll reach out to the folks from Civic Engagement, see what assets they have, anything we can include in our newsletter too on this. But yeah.
We actually have done it. We've been working closely with the Civic Engagement Commission on that.
Thank you.
And then there's also Satish that has raised his hand as well.
Sorry about the glare. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm a U.S. Army veteran, deployments to Afghanistan, Gitmo, social worker, and I currently work at VNS Health in our veterans program. I'll make it brief. We're here to work with aging veterans and their family members, trying to link those individuals who are not linked to the VA back to the VA, and also those who are in need of like healthcare related services. We try to link them to one of our products. Home health days, long-term care, hospice. We'll go into the homes, we'll have the conversation, we'll help them figure out the Medicaid and Medicare. If most of the individuals we worked with are predominantly Vietnam, Korean era veterans, and most of them are homebound, our members of our team have no trouble into going to the homes and trying to physically link them back to the VA, right? So I'll share my information in the chat, email address, our brochure. I look forward to reaching out to everyone to see if we can conduct outreach at various locations, VFWs, the American Legions, DVS, we're kind of working in partnership with Mr. Wheeler. So I look forward to engaging with everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sasha.
One question that Kevin brought up before, and it would obviously require some interagency cooperation, is if disabled veterans that are studying in New York City or getting any sort of certifications can qualify for food stipends or EBT as a student veteran. Would that be possible to look at? I mean, similar to how HP used to really advocate for the MetroCard initiative, is that possible for us as like, an incentive for student veterans here?
I'll make sure I understand the question. It's are student veterans able to enroll in SNAP ultimately? Is that the question?
None of the, I mean, is there some sort of stipend? So then that way they know if they qualify, they'd be able to get help with, just even that kind of allowance outside of any of the other benefits that they may get. Is that something that the city would be willing to offer? Kevin, please add in anything if that's correct, if I'm reading your question correctly.
I think one question is whether the VAH is considered income.
Let's go back. Let's run the traps on that. And thanks for the question too, Kevin. Let's run the traps on this. This is a stipend question, but another question that's baked in is something that I want to follow up with someone about that had come up before is, is a student veteran eligible for supplemental nutrition assistance program?
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like, and if so, what steps do we take to make sure we can make that connection. So let us do homework and come back in October about that. And Kevin, thanks for that question. And then I want to, because, we have our feeding initiative, as far as, every Wednesday we have volunteers, many of whom from Black Vessels for Social Justice come together and pack. We'll come out to thousands of meals every Wednesday and get them out to, food insecure members of our community. It's something. And so that's more on that. We have found that. Also, we work closely with our friends at the, Department of Probation, as far as the Neon Kitchen Initiative, where they have food available at their various Department of Probation sites. And I'll put vet food in the chat. This is something where if a veteran is food insecure, these different ways right now to be able to get access to food, to sustenance.
I think also the community schools have started putting together their own food pantries in many places. And I know that certainly in Staten Island, thinking and of course, we do our Hello Fresh program and with Wendy, Black and social justice, the pay against hunger. We do have that, but it is an issue. I know students do come to school often with nutrition, not nourished in a healthy way. So it's something for us to do. Thank you.
Yeah, Ellen, we really couldn't hear that whole last part. Like you're speaking very quietly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, probably may not like me anymore, but anyway, just to give you the heads up, we do pack for Hello Fresh on Wednesdays with food on Wednesdays in Brooklyn. So that's one source. The other is that many of the community campuses do pack food pantries. At this time, so that's another source.
But the HelloFresh is just located in Brooklyn, so students that are going to school in the Bronx have to go all the way to Brooklyn to get it.
Yes, that's the reality, unless they're working with one of the organizations that would distribute it. Yes. They're set there. If some people want to email me about, their locations, we could give them a listing of the food pantries in their borough, including the Department of Relations program that provides food for the community 2 or 3 times a week. Generally, their borough calls.
Just some feedback on the kitchens. There's nothing that stops the student veterans from going to the existing veterans kitchens, like here on Staten Island, the one at Fort Wadsworth, or the one at the correction department, probation department. They're both available for them. I just had some feedback from a previous meeting that they were up to about 40 people at the probation department one this last week. And that's grown dramatically.
I just want to make sure we didn't lose anything. Just going back, follow-ups on us, just for the groups I'm tracking. This issue about the garbage cans only being available online as far as applying for them and just, making it accessible for our older veterans, the folks who don't have tech access. Another one is VRE outreach to board. Thank you again to Lacey for that. Appreciate that. Another one is street vendor reps at the next meeting. It's as far as us reaching out to the agents to see if they can have folks come to the Brooklyn meeting, have representatives. Don and track civic engagement commission, whatever we can do to help continue to get the word out. We're doing things. We want to keep doing it and do more to get the word out to our veterans about civic engagement community commission and its opportunities. I'm also tracking Kevin, just this issue on food. We're going to focus on SNAP for student veterans, really student disabled veterans, everything. We'll focus on that. Am I missing anything as far as homework that we've got? And I thank you. We thank everybody for this as far as this is what we're here for. Oh yeah, and we'll get back to you as far as this issue with the city council, the funding for these things, giving more clarity about what everything we know about this when we get to this next meeting, as far as the money that is it's $334,000, the DFW Department of New York, $206,000 for New York Cares.
If I may, hi everyone, this is Wendy. A couple of questions, and I apologize, I can't type that fast. I just can't. Y'all done moved on to 2 topics. I'm still talking about bagging stuff. So forgive me. But the first thing, HelloFresh initiative. I'm gonna start with that. We really need, and if we can push it, we really, really, really need volunteers to help us on those Wednesdays. It takes anywhere from 8:30, I think, or 8 o'clock that Miss Ellen, and let me just digress. Ellen, thank you so much. You do a wonderful job, and what you do is very appreciative and very appreciated. No, it's not easy. I know it's not hard, and all of these things that come in, but you do an excellent job, and we appreciate it. You and Cheryl Facunda, thank you. 2,000 bags every Wednesday is not easy. We need help. We have about sometimes there to do 2,000 bags. We may have sometimes 5 people, minimum 3. So you have individuals, and I just want to share this because it takes a toll financially and also, with manpower on those organizations that continue to help and are still there. So they start at 8 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes because we don't have the manpower, we're there till sometimes 1:30, still packing bags, and we're not getting the food to our veterans or to these local veteran organizations to sometimes 3:30, 4 o'clock in the evening. A task that should be done by 11, 12 o'clock. If we had 20 to 25 people every Wednesday, or minimum 15, we would be able to knock that out, deliver, and reach more families in a good, efficient time, and also to service those organizations before they close. That's number one. Number two, I saw the information and I understand, Mr. Meggett, what Kevin is saying. And that is any student that is within the New York City, wherever you go to school and different things. And if you share that you are your own caretaker, that your family and everyone is not taking care of you or not supporting you, you're able to apply for assistance within New York City directly. It doesn't have to go, and I understand that would be good, just like there's several programs like SSVF. That program helps with the social needs of our veterans, and they really take those veterans and put them into and link them with case managers and link them with those services that can get those programs that Kevin is talking about, if they don't know how to maneuver that, if that makes any sense. So the SSVF program is there to assist with that, with any wraparound service, be it food, be it clothing, be it furniture, whatever they need to sustain healthy housing, they're available for that. So if there are any veterans, and then they're able to go on their own to HRA, it's not even called HRA, it's the Department of Social Services, and apply for themselves. The third thing that they're talking about is the staff. So somebody in the text talked about veteran suicide. Veteran suicide is high and it is increasing, especially around these holiday seasons. But there's a program, the Staff Sergeant Fox program, that deals with veteran suicide prevention within our 5 boroughs, Nassau and Suffolk County, within Long Island. And you can reach out to DVS, to those outreach workers, and they will share with you those not-for-profits that are able and have those programs, and they're able to assist with that veteran suicide. Commissioner, if I can, I don't know, and I don't know, I went to some meetings and talking to a couple of veterans. I do mental health and my physical health out at Northport. But in other areas, and talking to some veterans, we need to do a what would be the name of it? Help me, Mercedes. When you want to get the idea of how something is working from a broad base, is it like a census or a temperature check? What do you call it?
Like a survey.
A survey or something like that. Okay, thank you so much. Because our that suicide prevention hotline, we need to really check it and see how it's working. There's several veterans that have said they've been put on hold. Several veterans, one veteran had made a statement at a meet or at a group saying that someone, not at Northport, but another veteran group that I'm in, that they call the hotline and someone said to them, well, if you're not ready to commit suicide, don't call me now. You know, I don't know how we do a temperature check because that's critical to veterans' mental health. Those also that are in school. We have to be able to have some sort of link, some sort of way, some sort of source, media, whatever, to make sure that we're hearing from all areas, not about veteran suicide, food insecurity, homelessness, employment, wherever they're calling to. There has to be some sort of hub or whatever we need to do to look at and test to see if these things are working and how they're working. So is that like called a temperature check or something like that to see how it's working and what we need to continue to make it work? So that's all I had. Thank you so much. And thank you for allowing me to talk because I couldn't type that fast.
Wendy, I wanna throw to Ellen before I do. I just have to say with 988, one of the issues with 988 has been it will redirect to whatever
Sir, Commissioner, I can't. Can you put your volume up? I'm having a hard time hearing you guys.
Oh, goodness, can
a little bit.
Speaking
to the mic.
Oh, goodness, it won't move. All right. Oh, I'm about to fall.
Don't do that.
Can you hear me now? I'm getting closer to the mic. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear it. Yes.
Okay,
thank you.
I'm away from these things. So the one of the issues with 988, it's beyond us, the city or states. The federal issue is, you know, if you are calling whatever your area code is that you're calling from on that phone, not where you live, what the area code is on that phone, it redirects you to whatever the local crisis line is for that particular community. So if you're from, or if your cell phone is a number from, let's say you were stationed in Illinois, but you live in New York now, but your cell phone has an Illinois, area code, it's going to redirect you back to that Illinois center. And there's uneven standards being applied at these different centers when folks are calling. And so I think that's one of the things that's impacting this when people talk about their issues accessing these platforms. And I don't know, I want to defer, Ellen, anything you got? Yeah.
Were they calling 988 or were they tapping into one to get into the Veterans Crisis Line? I'm just trying to see.
No, they dialed the 988 number.
Okay, so they didn't use the one to get into.
Yeah, it's like you press one will take you to Veterans Crisis Line.
Of course. Well, no, I'm saying when they dial whatever the suicide number is, they did go to where the veterans are to be serviced.
Well, that's if they
because I don't know what they dialed. I can only tell you I don't know what they dialed.
The main question is how do we get feedback to the entity that's running it about it?
New York will put you into vibrate, and if you press the one, it'll put you in the VA. So there is a difference in terms of who you're speaking with. But maybe in this particular case, they never got into the VA system. It was just with one of the 988 organizations. Yeah. So but there should be an evaluation that should be on.
I think we've established that there needs to be the process is not what's that discussion is how do we get feedback to the entity to let them know about the inefficiency of the service being provided.
Yeah, so what we can do, so there's a governor's challenge team. It's a team that's responsible for thinking about these things for the veteran community statewide. And we've got membership on it as one of the organizations. So that's something we can flow up through the state to get back to the folks nationally who handle this. Because what you're describing is a problem that's bigger than even New York City or New York State. It's really it's a national problem. And so we can flow that feedback up that way, Wendy. That's what we can do. Yeah.
But did you say that we had a hub here, that each state has their own hub? Did that?
No. What I said is that for traditional 988, you dial 988, it's going to take you to whatever the local crisis line is tied to that area code from your phone. And so that's not uniform at all. If you dial 988 and then press 1, that'll take you to the Veterans Crisis Line. Regardless, we got to get this feedback back to these folks. And so we can leverage this governor's challenge, which is a community of practice of folks across the state that float these types of things, that flag these types of things for folks who care about these matters. So what we can do is bring that back to the governor's challenge, the team that floats us back on the federal side, so we can bring that back to them, Wendy. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bring it back.
Yeah.
And just while we're on that, Helen did just say, or Helene, sorry, shared something in the chat about the VA SAVE program that helps you act with care and compassion if you encounter a veteran who's in crisis. So Helene did put that in the chat. Separately, just to address your comment about volunteers, Wendy. So Wednesday at 8 a.m. is a very difficult time for people that are working to make. Has there ever been any discussion about potentially doing it on a Saturday morning or Sunday morning? And the only reason I ask is Team RWB pre-pandemic used to volunteer with hashtag lunch tag BK, and they would send like 20 to 30 people each time they did it. They did it once a month. And it was on a Saturday or Sunday, I forget which day. So if it was possible to shift it to a weekend day, and then we get either the Mission Continues or RWB involved to provide the volunteers, is that a possible fix for just the assistance and the manpower that, it takes to be able to put the bags together?
Well, let me share. There's a lot of hands that do this, and these are perishable items. So first of all, that you're perishable. So the first thing is that we're working with the Campaign for Hunger. Is that correct?
Yes.
We don't know if they're open. Then
Yes.
we're working with the distributors from New Jersey who's bringing I don't know, Ellen, I think it's coming still from New Jersey with the
Yes.
meat and all the other vegetables and all of these other stuff from the farms. So we really try to correlate and get and see if we can do that. We don't know about the manpower that we have through DVS. Are they available on Saturday? We would have to see the timing and the schedule of all these individuals in order to shift something. I agree. Probably on the weekend, most community service, even in my sorority with Black vets and other things that I work, most community service is done on the weekends. It's very rarely done during the week. So if that was going to be happening, that's something that I would see and follow Miss Ellen's lead, because she's very good at talking to all those people. Oh, I didn't even talk about the Amazon. And then on Saturday, the other issue is, which is a major issue, we deliver these foods to organizations. Are you open on Saturday? Are you capable or do you have the refrigeration to maintain it? Because it's chickens. I mean, it's chickens and zucchinis and vegetarian dishes. And so do you have that refrigeration, and stuff to maintain it? So that's what we have to look at. Right, Ellen?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Wendy, I just want to call your attention. Marlene did post, if you can send the information about the volunteer needs to include in the newsletter, and included the email as well, to see if you can send the information so they can spread out, call for volunteers.
Okay, Miss Ellen?
Yes. Yes.
That's what we gotta do.
Okay, Marlon.
Send me info and I'll include it. For those of you who don't know me, I produce a newsletter called Molly's Newsletter, the Veterans Advocate. James knows me, Ellen, Wendy, you and I know each other from 100 years ago, from a long time. Joe Bello is my buddy. What, Wendy?
No, I said, yes, I do. I know the newsletter well. I love it.
And I do have a section. I divided into events. James, I try and include some of what I get in your DVS newsletter, but I didn't get some of the other things you were talking about. So that's one of the reasons I like to be attendees when I can, and include as much. And I do events, I do resources and information. So I would certainly I would put volunteer, call for volunteers. And my readership now, self-grown, to close to 800. And believe me, many people are looking for volunteer opportunities. So I would definitely want to include that, Wendy.
Thanks.
I just want to acknowledge Mr. Lacy is here. So, I mean, I don't know if Mercedes, anybody else online is, But yeah.
No,
so-
I went through the
But
questions in
we
the chat.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is there any other questions? Anybody else in the chat? I just wanted to make sure, yeah.
Did you, I'm
No, I
sorry,
said I've gone through the questions in the chat, so
Oh, I'm
they will
sorry,
been
I'm
addressed. So
sorry.
Mr. Lacy can take the floor,
1 second, may I, Madam President, if I may, please?
please. Yes.
One question. Did we talk about, I may have missed it while I was trying to type, you know, I'm two things at one time is a lot. But did we talk about the Yankee State? Is it Yankee? I don't know who it is. I'm not sports. I know it deals with a baseball. Did we talk about the event for that day?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
You're gonna be there, your staff is there, so. I've been.
What'd you say, Ellen?
Your staff is gonna be there.
Oh, that's nice to know.
I just wanna let you know.
Thanks for sharing. I'll check with them when I get tomorrow.
Totally, yeah, I've been.
Well, I'm just coming off vacation. I'll check and say, y'all go, okay.
Right, exactly.
Ellen, there was a question with how many volunteers does DVS provide for the HelloFresh packaging, considering, benefits veterans?
We, as Wendy mentioned, we need about 25 volunteers to really, be able to push it out.
No, not how many you need. How many does DVS provide is the question.
How many volunteers we provide? Let's see, right now, we don't really have volunteers. We have, Bradley, who is an employee who's been working hard, at doing this. We did a big push out this summer to get volunteers. And a few volunteers showed up and then they disappeared, so we weren't very successful on that end of it. We do have a wonderful group from Brooklyn, from Wendy's organization, that comes to help out. But really, in all honesty, our Amazon folks are volunteering. There's about 5 of them right now, and that not only are they packing the kits, but now they're delivering the kits also. So I would say that's another five people that are helping.
Are those things supposed to be going just to veterans?
Yes.
They are not. They are going to members in the community. And I watch it happen every week outside BDSJ.
Boy, I can't hear.
I don't know, Wendy, listening to you speak to just today, Sergeant Fox, outreach coordinator, who had a meeting scheduled with my Jericho project and my shelter, because my shelter is trying to force me to do a psychosocial to get city thefts. They're trying to take away my service animal's property that I care for her with, and all my medical, legal, and military paperwork, because it happens to be a little bit more than what I could fit in my locker, and DHS hasn't approved whatever in a year and a half. And your staff cancels on me and there's a full blow up. I don't know if you know anything that's going on in your organization. I've been in the Sergeant Fox program for a year and a half and hardly received any services from anybody. Mr. Rios lied about the suicide prevention, the biggest suicide prevention program in Syracuse next week in the bag meeting. Outright lied about it. And I don't know how many people here are doing the same thing, but you're not gonna fool somebody who's experiencing it and right directly in the middle of it. And if I hear another lie like that, there's gonna be more than complaints going on. Sergeant Fox absolutely has 100% failed me for the last year. In Jericho project, I'm on my 59th day out of 90, and I've had over 4 cancellations. I'm supposed to have a meeting with the director, that was canceled. My case manager, who's supposed to coordinate this with the case my case manager for Sergeant Fox hasn't talked to me in 4 months, and I have to text to prove it. Sean Mel hasn't done nothing. So you shouldn't get any volunteers, and those meals are going to the people in the community, into the building right next door. Those are not going to veterans, and you're not verifying in any way, shape, or form that they're veterans.
Mr. Levy, one thing that you are able to do, if you're available, I will be in my office tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. You can meet me there.
and we can go over all of your issues or your concerns. But there's one thing that I can verify. Those individuals that receive those foods, we don't just deliver to Brooklyn. We deliver to Manhattan, Bronx, Staten Island, all of them. But no. I listen to
They
you.
are going to the
That,
community, they
Mr.
are
Levy,
not going to veterans.
Mr. Levy, but you don't know that, but that's your
Yes, I
opinion.
do, I watch the people
However,
walk out of the building.
However, like I said, Mr. Levy, I will be in my office tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. If you would like to meet me there with my staff, we can discuss everything that you've outlined here. So like I said, Mr. Levy, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to allow you to continue. I'm going to allow you to
I want to see what Chanel has actually done.
You can see whatever you like, Mr. Levy.
For
But
an
Jeffrey, you're
anti-suicide
one
project,
person
and
out
I
of
can't even get a
2,000.
hold of him. Would you like to see the text messages on the video, Mr. Clinton?
Mr. Levy, can you meet me there tomorrow?
Mr. Lacy,
That's where
I understand
we're
your
not going to
frustration.
entertain that
Don't
here.
understand my frustration.
Here's the thing, Mr.
Lacy,
Lacy,
ready for
right?
twice, and they've been taken away from me because is there anybody?
All items. Wendy has said that you can take them to her. Otherwise, this is a public session for everyone.
Worse. I've had everything I've needed twice. And it's been taken away from me at the very last moment because some kind of shelter transfer and retaliatory, because I'm standing up for either veterans or other people in the shelter because they're violating their rights, and they don't like that I know the policy better than them. And if you want to go over the CFR of Sergeant Fox, let's do it, because I know it. Do you?
I sure did.
I asked for help with my service animal, because she's 9 years old and she needs to see a vet. Do you have a clause in this the Sergeant Fox program that allows for innovative services? I needed Metro cards to get to pay my storage unit that HRA wrote the check to. That was the time I talked to Chanel, and he's like, how many do you need? I was like, well, I gotta go to HRA, I gotta come back from HRA, I gotta go to the storage unit, I gotta come back from the storage unit. That's at least
Mr.
four.
Lacy.
Here's two.
Mr. Lacy, I just wanna, kind of like where Wendy is, I wanna be respectful of everybody else, and I feel like we gotta.
Yeah, I want the public to be able to see this.
My question
Because I
is,
really wanna hear who's actually going through this process. And listening to you guys talk about the superfluous things that you're talking about, like events and refrigeration, when veterans are dying in the shelter, is absolutely ridiculous. And if you need to be told that, you should be fired right now. Contend with me, anyone.
Mr. Lacy, there's different subjects.
Mr. Lacy, we're jumping from one thing to another.
we wanna be able to work with you, just, we're happy to meet with you, to just work with you through all these different things, so we're very happy.
I've worked with everybody, I've spoken to Lamar, I've spoken to DHS, the commissioners know me, and everything has been ignored.
Mr. Lacy, like.
Oh, that's
happened.
In fact, BDSJ is telling their employees that they're just a referral agency. And they get funded to actually provide services.
Miss. Oh. Let's, like the commissioner said, let's talk about this, because there's just so many things going on.
There's only one really important thing going on, and that's homeless, dying veterans in the shelter. Everybody else is less important. They're living their lives, they're safe, they're healthy, they have families. It's the homeless veterans at Gordon Avenue. We're gonna just go ahead with my testimony right now. I was illegitimately arrested because I was attacked by two people in the bathroom at 3:30 in the morning while I was taking a pee in the urinal with my privates in my hand, and I started getting hit in the back of the head. Now, because there's two of them and they can tell the police that there's two witnesses, but instead the shelter would not provide the videotape that would prove their lie. Their foundational statement said, I followed them into the bath.
Was this at Borden Avenue?
Yes, this is at Borden Avenue.
And
But
that's
I'm
in
still
October,
not
right?
allowed back there. I'm being withheld from the GPD program. I can't even go to the ICL shelter, regardless of what my doctor says my environment should be, which is a single room without eating by myself, I isolate. I'm not supposed to stand in congregate areas and lines and all of these things. If you look at the shelters that I've been in and the reports that have been made on me are exactly what's happening. And those measures would have saved me from that. And somehow DBS and DHS can't get me back into ICL when ICL they have no grounds. If you want to say it's violence, there's YouTube videos of people beating people to the pulp and then them getting let in. I watched one guy start 14 fights, 4 with me, and got back in every single time. If it's staff harassment, I was attacked by a security guard because the staff kept my mail away from me, which was medicine for my service dog, which they cut her food because they wouldn't let me open my mail and she was eating moldy food for a month. There is absolutely nothing working in this. If you got whatever the vets and the Mets thing was, you guys don't even have enough veteran engagement to give away 25 tickets. They had to start giving them to non-veterans and bringing their family. And they're not even allowed to do that. Like, I don't know who has a real pulse on this or not. So from Borden Avenue, they illegally inactivated my city thefts because every other shelter that I've been transferred from, it says on the transfer notice, your vouchers are still good and can be used. The shelter that they transferred me to was probably one of the most dangerous in the whole system, 6500 Jerome Avenue, which has a DHS police precinct in it. It's so bad. Because they inactivated my city thefts, I wasn't allowed to use it, and I chose to stay on the street because it was safer on Hunters Point and Long Island City than in Jerome Avenue. So for 4 months, I stayed under a cubbyhole of a skyscraper, and the construction workers helped me out. One actually took me in when it started snowing, and afterwards I went back to the shelter. Then is when Wendy McClinton said, "Oh, I got a hold of 30th Street. They know you're coming. Don't worry." I got there and I got treated like a piece of crap because I said, "Hey, the CEO of Black Veterans for Social Justice said she talked to somebody directly and they know exactly what your situation is and they're gonna get you to the shelter you need." I then spent the next 5 days being transferred from shelter to shelter because I learned that if it's an inappropriate shelter, I can say it's inappropriate medically. I don't have to do a bed refusal. I'm still assigned there. The police can't move me. And if I choose to live in their waiting room, they'll eventually transfer me. And that is a ridiculous thing for a veteran to have to do because there's veterans asking for transfers or other people in DHS asking for transfers that get delayed for months. But if you make a complaint, or if you go against authority, they'll transfer you the next day. They'll lie about it. I was in a BRC facility that they lied about a non-emergency transfer. The cops actually, I asked the cops to have them print out the paperwork. I showed him it. The cop tried to grab the paperwork. The clinical coordinator tried to pack up the paperwork. The employee locked himself in my room to bag and tag my stuff in 5 minutes, which I'm supposed to have 48 hours to do. Then, because everything was packed, the cop said, "We're not going to unpack this. We're either going to EDP you or you're going to get in that transfer van." That's medical kidnapping. Because there's no way any police officer can justify whether, if you think somebody's actually emotionally disturbed, putting them in the backseat of a van.
Mr. Lacy, I'm sorry. We can meet with you tomorrow.
I want this on public record.
We can't have you speak all night. I'm so sorry.
Well,
I am so sorry.
This is my testimony. We're only halfway.
This is not that type of forum.
No, it's not a public testimony with the city council. It's different.
We can meet tomorrow. So we can meet tomorrow.
Is it be recorded so that I can put it out there in the public forum? Because these failures need to be heard.
It's legal for people to record things in New York. It's legal for you to record. But most important, the biggest thing right now is we got to meet tomorrow and try to get at this. You know, I mean, this is my first time meeting you. Let's talk.
Well, good, because right now, I'm not sure if my,
It's just that this isn't-
if my shelter right now is packing up my service animal stuff and all my most important paperwork. It's absolutely irreplaceable. And I have the videos from it this morning.
Hey, Lacy,
this isn't the place.
This is the place. This is the place where the public.
Hey,
can see
Lacy,
what's really going on.
Lacy.
Because what I've heard you guys talk about is not what's going on at all.
Hey,
It's a bunch
Lacey.
of fluff that you
Hey,
guys
Lacey.
patting yourselves on the back for,
Lacey.
pretending like you're doing something.
let me just talk right now. Let's talk about this afterwards, just so you know, don't say another word. Most everyone's here, they're part of DVS. Me, Josh, with a few people like Mercedes, she's the chair of the board. We're on the Veterans Advisory Board. So after this meeting, let's talk. Because the primary topic for this today is education. So that's what we're going through. So it's not fluff, it's also an important topic. But the stuff you're going through, I know you're looking at me like that. Hold on 1 second.
I'm saying I didn't
Hold
see
on,
that.
hold on 1 second.
I didn't
Hold
see
on,
it.
hold on.
Listen,
We're
I
gonna
can
cap this
respond
off
to you.
right
I
now.
refuse to get into this.
Hold
This is
second.
part of my disability.
Hold
I don't
second.
let people talk over me. I'm responding to you, and I was gonna say.
Hold second. No, I'm not done talking. I'm not done talking.
I'm going to finish my sentence.
Hold second. No.
I'm going to
You,
finish my sentence.
no,
Listen,
you
won't go
interrupted
any
me
further.
like you
think
interrupted
I'm
other
going to
people.
Back down from this. I was going to say, I didn't see that on any of the things and apologize. Now, why you just thought you could choose to talk over me for 45 seconds instead of pause for 3 seconds like
hold
I
on.
asked you is the exact attitude why nothing gets done.
Listen, Lacey, let's talk after this.
No, let's talk now.
No,
Let's stay here
we have
all
to
night.
cap.
Let's
no.
stay here all night and
This
deal with it.
forum for this is on education.
Look, you only have
No.
four meetings a year. I don't wanna hear it. Which meeting this year was on homelessness? Cause there's more than 4 issues.
There was a homeless meeting. There was an issue on homelessness. Yes, and housing. There was.
What month was
Queens, April.
it? Okay, so for 4 months, you guys haven't dealt with it.
Be at my office.
Lacey,
I'd love to update you
no,
on all
let's
that,
not
what's
raise our
going on for
voices.
4 months.
Let's
I
talk
can't
about
help
this.
it.
We
My
have to,
thought
we
was
have,
supposed to be serving me.
Lacey,
I've done my service.
Lacey.
I'm not here to serve you.
same thing. Quite a few of us have done our service too.
You're now in another public servant role, I'm not.
I'm not in a public servant role.
Well,
I'm
who
on the
is?
Veterans Advisory Board.
It-
So listen,
Well, that's
I'm not,
a-
I don't work with DVS. Let's talk after
You work
this.
with CVS?
I don't work with
Oh,
DVS.
you don't work.
I'm not on staff. Let's talk, seriously. Let's
I've
talk,
been put in
okay?
danger too much and too long, I'm sorry, but this is
Let's-
this is the first forum I've got to where anybody's actually.
Listen, we want to help you. We want to work with you. We want to see what can be done. Nobody's saying that they don't want to. We honestly, legitimately want to. But again,
If you
the public
guys
forum
don't
is
know
a different
what's going
subject.
on at Gordon Avenue and with the homeless veterans, I don't even know if I want you now.
Go back and forth, he gets worse. Stop it.
Hey, Lacey,
Wait, you're a complete liar.
Lacey.
Okay,
Mr.
we
Lacy.
need to wrap this up. This session
you're going
goes
to-
until 8
Thank you.
o'clock. That's it.
Thank you, Mercedes.
Mercedes.
Does anybody else have anything else regarding education or any,
He got a dog.
No, listen, the session does need to get wrapped up at 8 o'clock. We will make sure everybody follows up with this. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And the next meeting will be on October 30th, based in Brooklyn. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Please check
Thank
the DM I sent you.
I did, Peter. I'll call you
Thank
after
you.
this. Thank you.
Yep. It doesn't have to be tonight, tomorrow.
Okay,
Yep,
great. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.